Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, so long time no see. So my name is Katie and this is my booktube channel. So I used to make videos like 3 and a bit years ago, but then sort of tailed off because I started working full time and it's a lot of work. So I just sort of wasn't reading as much and didn't have as much time to make videos or energy to make videos, probably more energy than anything else. So I took a little bit of a break, but now I'm back. I've been reading a lot more again this year in 2025 and I've just been like dying to share my thoughts again. So I wanted to revive this channel. But I've been very well. Thank you to anyone who's still here from the old days. Just kind of working and living life. So this is my 10 before the end. So it's 10 books that I would like to read before the end of 2025, which that now that I've just acknowledged that we're coming to the end of 2025. That sounds crazy to me, like, nearly 2026. So these are the 10 books that I would like to read before the end of the year. So the first book is the book that I'm currently reading and I would like to finish, and that is Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruccio. So this book I've had for quite a long time, but I have never got around to reading it. But it does seem to have blown up recently, and the whole series is called the Sun Eater series. And especially in the like BookBro, BookTube and Bookstagram spaces, I'm not on BookTok, but I assume there as well. This seems to be really popular. I'm about 180 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's following a main character called Hadrian, who is a legend in this world. And it's him sort of towards the end of his life going back and telling his story from the very beginning, how he became this sort of mythological figure. It says, on the back, they remember him as a monster, the devil who destroyed a sun, casually annihilating 4 billion human lives, even the emperor himself, against imperial orders. But Hadrian was not a hero, he was not a monster, he was not even a soldier. So I think it's going to be a really great series. I've heard amazing things about books 2 and 3. I think my main goal is just to finish this one before the end of the year because it's quite chunky. It's like 600 pages or so. The writing is beautiful. It's very like prosy and philosophical, which I'm really enjoying. Contrasted especially with Hadrian, who's like such an unserious... I mean, he's like serious and grumpy, but his narration style is quite unserious, which I'm really enjoying. That's that one. Okay, so then next we have a couple of sequels that aren't actually out yet, but are coming out in November. So the first one is It's Not Legends and Lattes, it's Brigands and Breadknives, which is the third book in the Legends and Lattes series. I love this series. It's just cozy fantasy at its finest. It was kind of the original cozy fantasy, I feel like, and I've loved it since day one, I honestly don't know anything about it. It's just an auto-buy read for me. So I don't know if it's following the same characters. I think it might be, because I know the second book, which is Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is back there, was like a prequel. So it was still following Viv the Orc, but before the events of Legends and Lattes. So I assume the next one will be following Viv still, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to reading it. And it'll just be a great, cozy, fun time. So that's that one. And then the next one is probably my most anticipated read for the second half of the year. And that is the sequel to The Will of the Many by James Islington, which is called The Strength of the Few. And it's coming out next week. I'm so excited. So this book probably like re-kicked off my love for reading again because I hadn't read anything like this good in a while. And then I read it at the start of this year and it was so good. I'm completely obsessed with it. The Strength of the Few is the sequel. This book follows this. So this book is set in a world where the empire is set up. It's very Roman Empire heavy. And the empire is set up around this concept of will. So will's sort of the magic system. And people can cede their will to people above them. So it's quite a good metaphor for the current world and sort of wealth systems. And we're following the main character Vis, who is the sort of lost prince of an overthrown not empire, like colony, I don't know how to describe it exactly. And he ends up going to the school to try and find his place in the empire while keeping this very big secret of his identity. And there's a lot more that goes on. He sort of has some mentor figures that are using him for their own nefarious ends. It's just such a good book. I would highly recommend. And the sequel is going to be amazing, so I'm very excited for that. Okay, then next we have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. So this I have actually read before. I think I read an arc when it first came out on NetGalley, but it's been so long and now it seems really popular. And yeah, I remember it being a good gothic atmospheric novel. So, and I really like that kind of thing, especially around this time of year. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this again, but kind of for the first time. And potentially its sequel as well, because I know it's a duology. And I've especially heard really good things about the second book in the duology. So I can't remember what it's about, but I will try and briefly summarise the blurb. So the main character has a monster in her head called the Nightmare, I think. And they have to go and, alongside a mysterious highwayman, they go and embark on a dangerous quest to cure the town where they live from dark magic infecting it. So yeah, I seem to remember the Nightmare being a very interesting character. So yeah, I'm excited to reread this and see how everything goes down. And am I falling into the hype? Maybe, but it'll be an interesting time. So that's that one. Okay, then next is another sequel, and that is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. So this is the sequel to Divine Rivals. So for some reason this year I've been really into like fiction set around the World Wars. Like previously I've always hated any book that's set in either World War I or World War II. I've just not wanted to read it. But for this year I really got into it for some reason. So I read Divine Rivals and I've read The Warm Hands of Ghosts, which is like one of my favourite books of the year. And I've just also been reading, which I'll mention later, another book. So yeah, I really enjoyed Divine Rivals. It's very beautifully written, sort of like heart-wrenching tale. And this is the sequel, so I'm excited to read this. The last book ended on quite a cliffhanger, so anything could happen in this book. The first book is basically following these two main characters who work at I think, newspaper. I might be remembering wrong, and they're sort of rivals in the workplace. They're always trying to one-up each other. But they are writing secret... They each have a secret pen pal that they're writing to, which is actually the other person. And it's set against the backdrop of the war. I don't think it's actually World War I. I think it's a fictional war between these two gods. But it's very much the vibes of World War I. And one of the characters goes to try and find out what's happened to their brother. I think that's this one. That is also the plot of The Warm Hands of Ghosts. But I think they're very similar. Yeah, I'm sure the main female character's brother like goes missing, and then she has to go and try and find out what's happened to him while writing these secret pen pal letters. So yeah, it's really good. Would highly recommend. The writing is just so beautiful. Rebecca Ross has a real talent, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And it's got the cool red sprayed edges as well. I'm not a fan of sprayed edges really, and every book seems to have them nowadays, which is really annoying, but oh well, it is pretty, so yeah. So then we have The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. So I think this is another like fae romance. I mean, I don't know why all these books are romantasy, because I don't even actually read that much romantasy usually. I think there's only so much epic, like you can only have one or two epic books on the go at a time, so that's why there's some lighter reads in between. So I don't really know much about this one, but I know Mary E. Pearson wrote Kiss of Deception trilogy and also Dance of Thieves duology, which I've read both and really enjoyed. They're very like the classic old school YA fantasy that I love, like in the similar vein to Graceling and the Cinder Williams Chimer books. So I'm hoping this one also has those vibes. Because I feel like nowadays some of the stuff they publish, you need to rely on good old authors that you know can write well before taking any risks. So fingers crossed for this one. Okay, so the next we have Frankenstein, which is on my Kindle. And obviously this is a classic, and I want to read this mainly because of the film that has just come out, which I have seen and it was so good. I would really highly recommend. And yeah, I would love to read the classic novel, and I've heard for a classic it's fairly unintimidating. So yeah, I've always kind of wanted to read it. I don't know why, I've just never got into it, but the film has really prompted me into reading it. I'll pick it back up, even though you can't see it very well. I really love this cover as well. I was quite tempted to buy it, like a physical copy, but the Kindle edition was 99p, so I couldn't resist that. So, and I don't like to have multiple copies of books unless I know they're a favourite. So yeah, so that's this one. I'm really looking forward to it. It's sort of telling the story of Dr. Frankenstein, who creates this undead monster, and then the tale of how the monster sort of becomes a monster in a weird way, because it's not so much about he's treated like a monster because of how he looks, but he becomes the monster because of how he's treated. So I think it's a really interesting study in what makes a monster and who is the real monster in the story. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this one. And then another Kindle book that I've just started is called The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.D. Parry. And this one is a dark academia, again set around the time of the First World War. I think it's set in 1920, following some events in the First World War. Again, the main character's brother has been injured by the fairies, and she goes on a hunt to try and solve the magic, is the gist of what I'm getting from the story so far. So I'm only 7% in. And I wanted to read this one because Peruse Project read it and said it was really good, and the author is one of her new favourite authors. And so far the writing is amazing. Like, I started it and just couldn't stop reading. I was like, I'm easily going to read this in about 2 days because it's just so good so far. So yeah, the main character gets a scholarship to a fancy magical university that's like Oxford or Cambridge, but the magical version. And I think she makes friends with some of the high society people there, and then gets embroiled in a plot with the fairies. I don't know exactly what happens, but it's very dark academia vibes. And yeah, it seems like it's going to be great. So I'm very excited to finish this one. There we go. Okay, then next we have A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. So this is the final book in the, I don't actually know what the series is called, the Once Upon a Time series, which is a very sort of fairy tale-esque YA fantasy. I really like the covers and the pink aesthetic. It's probably not my favourite series ever, but I've really enjoyed them so far. They're just very light, easy, fast reads, very fairy tale-esque. And yeah, the book is quite wintry, so very like gingerbread house vibes is how I would describe this series, if that makes any sense, or like Winter Wonderland. It's set in the like frozen north, or I can't remember if that's the exact name of the kingdom, but some cold northern wintry aspect. So I think this is the perfect time of year to finish off the series and conclude my thoughts. The first book, this is going to be a real test of my memory, follows Evangeline, and she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts called Jax to, I can't remember exactly what the deal is, but she ends up having to do some favours for him, and she gets herself engaged to this fancy prince, and the story sort of goes from there. That was not a good description, but yeah, if you're looking for a nice, light, easy read, then that's what I enjoy about this series. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all concludes. Yeah. And then the last book I would like to read is the Empire, well, 2 books really, is to finish the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. So I've read the first book, which I really, really enjoyed. And I've started the audiobook for the second one, which is Empire of the Damned, and then Empire of the Dawn has just come out as well. So these are by J. Christoph, and I'm really looking forward to finishing off this series. I'm loving it so far. It's like peak grumpy mentor, feral child vibes. And this is following the story of Gabriel, who's an older vampire, he's not a vampire actually, he's a silver saint, which is like half vampire, half human. And he's telling his story to a vampire of how he like came, again, similar to Empire of Silence, how he came to be the legend that he is, and how he broke the Holy Grail of the church, and like how he defeated, I think, the big bad vampire king. So you know all this at the start, and he's telling the story of kind of how it happened. And it's very like heart-wrenching, and you really feel for Gabriel. He's a great character. The other main character called Dior, I love her so much. Yeah, the side characters I love. It's just a great kind of tapestry of great characters and setting. It's set mostly in France, and the vibes are just, the vampire vibes, the French countryside vibes, it's all just so good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to finishing that series. So that is my 10 before the end. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you're still here from the old days, thank you so much for sticking with my channel. I'm going to try and upload a bit more frequently. I'm aiming for once or twice a week, I think is realistic. Probably once a week, a bit more realistic. But yeah, and if you have any books you'd like me to read, then definitely let me know in the comments, and I'm always looking for more recommendations. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are. And yeah, until next time.